He doesn't throw many picks, but when he does, they are horrific.
He's firmly on the hot seat, I think, now.
His arm, it was backwards. It doesn't look good.
Is the late playoff run on? That's what I'd like to see.
He's wrong about Brock Bowers, and he's going to be wrong about Bam Knight. Welcome back to the Early Hours podcast. Guys, it's week 9. We are officially halfway through the regular season now. One more game to play this evening. But look, things are heating up. Some massive scores this weekend that we're going to dive into. But before that, some breaking news. As soon as we sat down to record, who's on the move, Oliver?
Jalen Phillips, it seems, from the Dolphins. And look, we spoke about this in the week. We said if teams were to lose this weekend, there was a couple of teams that potentially the stakes were really high in terms of how they were going to approach the trade deadline. And Miami acting fast is pretty clear, and it's on display that they are now going to enter a full rebuild, it seems. But yeah, Jalen Phillips, Eagles are picking him up for a third-round pick in 2026, so relatively high price. But I think if you look at it at face value, only costing them a $13 million sort of cap hit, and they'll take that in 2025, assuming that there's no sort of urgent or immediate adjustments to that. But yeah, what an acquisition. Howie and the Eagles doing what they do best, picking up the scraps and working for both sides, I think, at this stage.
Yeah, the Eagles being very busy, actually, this week. They've acquired Jair Alexander as well from the Ravens. And they've also let John Mechie, the third, go. So a lot of business over at Philadelphia. But look, loads of business to break down as well. Thursday Night Football, speaking of the Dolphins, they lost to the Ravens 28-6. Lamar Jackson reminding everyone who the best quarterback in the league is.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Phillips didn't do a good job on Lamar, did he? And kind of shutting down the run, etc. He did actually get a sack on Lamar, to be fair. But yeah, Lamar Jackson, 4 touchdowns on his first game back, over 200 yards, not showing any rust. What was nice is he got Derrick Henry involved as well in the run game. It was quite a balanced offense, which is nice to see. But nailing the coffin for the Dolphins, I'm afraid, puts them to 2-7. And yeah, even Devon Achane couldn't really get going. And yeah, you can see that there might be a couple of more going out of the Dolphins now, Jalen Waddle and co. So yeah, the Ravens look good. And at 3-5, is the late playoff run on? That's what I'd like to see.
Nice, love that. I hope it is, for the sake of that division. It's been a really interesting division this year. We've had Flacco move, we've had Lamar in and out. Aaron Rodgers is turning back the clock. It's really exciting. But yeah, for me, it came down to sort of red zone presence and red zone efficiency. A tale of two halves, really. Lamar and the Baltimore Ravens really efficient. You mentioned 4 touchdowns. That's 4 on 5 red zone trips. So they were clinical when it came to being in the red zone. And unfortunately, on the other side of that, Tua and the Dolphins, they went 0-3 in the red zone. So just not being able to convert, and ultimately that's why the game just got away from them pretty fast.
Yeah, Smells, you mentioned there the final nail on the coffin for the Dolphins. Potentially, it definitely was the final nail for Chris Geiger, mutually agreeing to part ways with Miami there, with Mike McDaniel seemingly safe until the end of the season as well. Do you think that's fair over in Miami?
I think they'll find a new coach in the off-season, give Mike the rest of the season, see it out, and then Mike can go back and become a coordinator again, and they'll pick up someone from somewhere else. It's just part of the game, isn't it? I think, if we're honest, Mike's probably lucky to see out till the end of the season, but nothing to lose, nothing to gain, I don't think.
Moving on to the Sunday games. Look, the standout, I didn't think I'd be saying this, but it involves the Bengals and the Bears, 42-47 respectively. Did we just watch one of the games of the season?
100%. We watched one of the games of the season for sure.
It actually could have been one of the games of all time, actually.
Yeah, for sure. It could have been. It's up there, and Scott Hansen they could not keep up. Honestly, it was just ever evolving on Red Zone. I think it is worth us just having a little bit of a recap just for how it sort of played out at the end. So the Bengals took a 42-41 lead after Joe Flacco hit Jamar Chase with a 22-yard touchdown. Don't forget, that then came off the back of, after he hit that touchdown, they hit an onside kick for the go-ahead touchdown, only for Caleb Williams to get the ball back. And Ben Johnson's on the sideline calling plays thick and fast. They're in a 2-minute drill. He strikes it to Loveland with 17 seconds left on the clock. And yeah, the Bears went on to win 47-42. So it capped off an absolutely unbelievable early slate in the red zone. And yeah, absolutely right, Goody. One of the games of the season for sure.
That was enthralling, actually. I think you should go into audiobook reading or something. I was really engaged.
I'm keeping tabs on Scott Hansen's career, so I'm ready to step up if they need me. But yeah.
Yeah, but does that shake up the NFC North at all, with the Bears proving that they can score almost 50 points?
To be honest, I think 50 points against the Bengals is not. Let's be fair.
This is now Joe
Jamar
Flacco's
Chase,
Bengals. It's a different side.
A Joe Flacco that hit a career day, by the way. He hit a career day.
470 yards.
Wow.
Yeah, 470 yards, 4 touchdowns. Granted, two INTs, but yeah, he quite literally took them into that shootout. It was a real western at the end.
That's like my trip to the shop. So that's actually quite far.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was crazy. What a weird game. And actually, to answer your question, I think absolutely flipped the script on the NFC North. It really did, because granted, the standings didn't differ too much on the night, mainly due to a matchup that's already taken place between Detroit and the Packers at the start of the season, and the Vikings pipping the Lions last night, which we'll come on to, I'm sure. But yeah, it was just a crazy turn of events, and actually a really crucial win, because I look at it from our standpoint. We go into a really important stretch coming up where we have sort of, it's pretty much all divisional matchups. So yeah, it's going to be really important for their season, the Bears.
It's really good. They found Monangai as well, didn't they? Obviously, we mentioned Swift was out. DJ Moore was looking like the guy. But yeah, Kyle Monangai, the running back, and Colston Loveland, obviously, was so good. And on a night where T. Higgins and Jamar Chase have the night they have, the Bears needed someone to step up, because Caleb looked good in parts and a bit shaky in parts, if we're honest. But they got it over the line. And like I said, Jamar Chase said everything. They just needed one stop from that defense. But yet again, they just can't do it. And we said this before. Do we see one of those 2 star receivers knocking on the door of the GM at the end of the year if it just carries on like it is? Because it's so frustrating for them. So frustrating.
Yeah, very, very outspoken at the end of the game, and was quite clear, actually. He said, to sort of paraphrase, I'm going to stay in my lane. I don't want to see any defensive players coming up to me asking what I did on the night. So yeah, very clear message from Jamar Chase. He's doing his job. T certainly did his, and really that defense needs to step up. It's just getting ridiculous. It really is.
Chase very frustrated at the end of that game. If you're in the tight end market, like a few of you may be after Tucker Kraft, which we might get onto later on in the episode, Loveland is now he's a hot commodity. He's number 1 trending player on the fantasy app. So yeah, if you've got him on the waivers, definitely try and pick him up on Wednesday. Moving on to the rest of the games on Sunday, we've got the Raiders 29, Jacksonville Jaguars 30. Boys, I've coined a new verb here, because in both of the leagues that I'm in, I got bowered in both of them. Yes, it's another week where I face a player who set record numbers. Let me just pull up some stats here. He has scored the most points from any tight end since 2020. Glad that was against me. 12 receptions, 133 yards, 3 touchdowns for Brock. He's a bust, isn't he?
I think it's only fair to let Oliver go here.
You took the words out of my mouth. How many? You're talking about eating up top fantasy performances. How many of my own words am I going to have to eat up this season? Yeah, man. I'll hold my hands up on that one. Fair play. I mean, he balled out, and Geno Smith looked rejuvenated. He was a different. I don't know what the Jags had. I don't know what they were doing, to be perfectly honest with you. They made Geno look phenomenal. So yeah, it was a disaster of a game, wasn't it, for them? But anyway. Well,
that's the thing. If you're going to score 3 touchdowns and basically run the show, Genty as well. He put up some good yardage, but to come away with a loss, especially with those sort of scores, it's not a good look for the Raiders.
Definitely really disappointing for the Raiders. Geno Smith, Ashton Genty, and Brock Bowers did everything. What I would say is, we had a little bit in ball out of bus last week. I'm here for some kicker love. Cam Little with a 68-yard field goal. That's the longest field goal ever. Obviously, I think he kicked a 70 in pre-season. He told us that 70 wouldn't be an issue, and he's here with a 68. He went 3 of 3, and quite clearly he was the difference last night. The Raiders kicker, 1 of 1, Daniel Carlson, didn't have the chances out there. Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? They were converting in the red zone, but the Jags just had the possession. And if you've got the tools, you've got the tools.
Yeah, he's definitely got the tools in his leg. Yeah, Cam Little, 68 yards. I mean, you've got to think that we're going to see a 70 at some point. That is far down the pitch. You could risk it all at 3rd and 8 and in your own half and still come away with 3 points with him on the team. That is ridiculous. Moving on to an NFC North clash. It's JJ McCarthy showing some form here, and Justin Jefferson, he's finally on the score sheet.
Do you know what? I'm a huge Justin Jefferson fan. It wasn't his best game yesterday. He had less than 50 yards, but he got that touchdown, which is all important. It's what they needed. Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones looking okay, but I didn't think the Vikings were amazing. I just thought the the Lions were even poorer. We've said how good the Lions have been in the last couple of weeks, but it looked a little bit like they did against the Packers in week 1. They couldn't get the run game going. The pass game was much better. Sent Brown and Laporta with a lot of yardage, but the Vikings just controlled it pretty well throughout the majority of the game. A bit of a late scare late on, but again, the NFC North, it just shakes it up, and the Lions are back in the mix of it with now the Vikings as well as the Packers and the Bears all to play for over there.
It was a statement win, I think, for the Vikings. And you can't grow. Wins aren't easy in this league. They say it quite often. Coaches say it quite often, and that's more of what the Vikings fans were looking for this season. They weren't looking for this polished, shiny version of JJ McCarthy. Let's not forget, he spent a majority of his last year on the sideline, and he's still very much being shaped by Kevin O'Connell. But they know that that potential end product, which perhaps Seattle has seen now with Sam Darnold, that they can get out of JJ McCarthy. And signs were there. I think he delivered under pressure. There was, extensive drives throughout the night, which showed that he can move the chains. There was consistency there. He could find different targets, spread the ball well. So I think on the whole, very positive encounter. And worryingly for teams like us, when we can't beat the Panthers, if we're going to come up against teams like that and they catch us off guard and there's less tape on people like McCarthy, then those kind of teams are a problem in your division.
Yeah, as a Packers fan, I don't think there was any winning for either of us there, unless there was a draw. But I think the lesser of two evils won there with the Vikings, because it puts the Lions back down a peg. The Steelers, Colts 27-20, massive matchup there for a top spot in the AFC. And then we've got the Rams, Saints 34-10. Stafford with 4 touchdowns and the shock truck fully in park. Giants 49ers 24-34. CMC running riot yet again, another 150 plus yard game for him with 2 touchdowns. But a trade-off here, Mikael Williams, a first-round pick. He's out with an ACL by the looks of things. And then we've got the Commanders Seahawks 14-38. Sam Darnold here, look, he's throwing for 21 out of 24, only the 1 interception, 4 passing touchdowns. But the story here, Jaden Daniels, his arm, it was backwards. It doesn't look good.
Very unfortunate for those Washington fans, and exiting a game another way, halfway through the game yet again. That's got to be the 3rd or 4th possible time that we've seen that this season now, and it's just such a frustrating sophomore year for him. But it kind of just ended any chance of a fight back in a quite dominant performance, it's fair to say, from Seattle Seahawks. And I did want to quickly touch on Seattle. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I do think they're possibly the strongest team in the West at the minute, and certainly a front run in my opinion down the stretch. I think at the minute they're obviously hindered by the fact that they've already had a loss to the Niners and they're yet to play the Rams, but there's certainly a conversation to be had. I mean, Sam Darnold, he completed all 16 of his passes in the first half, threw for 282 yards and 4 touchdowns. So yeah, Jackson Smith and Jigba as well posted 8 catches for 129 yards. He is soaring at the minute. He has genuinely got to be wide receiver 1 at the minute in the league. I would probably Is it fair to say?
But I think he's up there. I think he tops Nakua.
Wow. Yeah. So, and again, look, you've mentioned Nakua there. That sums it up. The West is so strong at the minute. I think it's caught everyone out really. Seattle maybe looked like they were in a bit of a transition year. Niners, we knew, were still battling a few injuries and started the season without players, let alone the injuries they've picked up now. The Rams, where were they at? Stafford's a year older. They potentially talked about trading him away in the off season. It just shocked everyone. And yeah, Seattle absolutely dominant last night.
And then we move on to a game that was the talk of the town, one to watch all weekend. The Bills and the Chiefs. The Bills coming away with a 28-21 victory there, so they continued their regular season dominance against Kansas City.
The Bills look really good. I think Kansas City went in there with a good shot, being actually the slight favourites, like I said last week. Patrick Mahomes didn't perform, though. It's not something we've said that much this season. Even when they've lost, he has probably been their bright spark. Rashee Rice looked really good in the receiving game and also the rushing game, getting a touchdown. But Mahomes completing 15 of 34, and that's how they play. If he can't complete 50% of his passes, then they're always in for a tough night.
Yeah, 100%. And Buffalo put that pressure on them, right? We knew they were gonna make it difficult on the night in terms of the secondary and that passing game. But I think what really surprised us was that pass rush. Joey Bosa probably having a breakout game for the season. Absolutely bombing the left tackle all night. They were putting him everywhere. He was, sort of lining up in the middle at times, breaking through. So finding gaps, and that's absolutely what you need to do against a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. You need to stop him from being able to maneuver in that pocket, as we spoke about. So yeah, the secondary picking up a late interception, the Bills front line bringing the pressure. It was it just had the makings of a masterclass from Buffalo, really. And yeah, Chiefs need to reset now, going into a bye. If they're going to continue their push for the first seed, it's absolutely crucial that they rest up.
Completely agree. Like we say, Josh Allen and the Bills coming away with the win there. But look, that won't matter at all come the playoffs, because Mahomes will probably end up knocking them out of the postseason like they do every year. And I think, boys, that actually rounds out the Sunday slate quite nicely. Time to move on to Monday Night Football quickly.
Gents, I think, just checking my notes, we may have missed one more of the Sunday slate.
I don't think we have, actually. Nothing worth talking about.
A certain top seed of the NFC getting beat, was it?
Doesn't ring any bells.
Can't recall. I recall the Carolina Panthers doing a job on Jordan Love and his men, you see, unfortunately.
Okay, well, look, it's not particularly worth talking about, but the Packers did lose to the Panthers 13-16. What a disaster, Oliver. What went wrong?
What went right? And before I even get into the game, what's more devastating, despite the loss, forget the loss, Tucker Kraft, it's expected to be an ACL, out for the season, out for the starts of next season.
Matt LaFleur, after the game, coming out with the words, "It doesn't look good," which is code for season ending.
Yeah, and Matty Golden, our first round pick, shoulder injury. So it really gets better by the week. Honestly, it's amazing at the moment to be a Green Bay Packer. So yeah, we just got outplayed. It's as simple as that. The defense, actually holding Carolina to whereabouts they've been this year, which is sort of sub 15 points most weeks. Inexcusable, really. The offense was a disaster. The O-line couldn't protect Love. They were whenever the blitz came, they were finding gaps, they were getting to him, they were forcing him to go mobile, and that was just a disaster as well. Some of the play calling from Matt LaFleur was disastrous. Terrible shout on 4th and 8. Take the points, and give us an
points is
and
literally
put the pressure back on your brand new shiny weapon in the defense, and we didn't do that. So yeah,
why don't we take the points? They're right there. Take them, please. We need to get it on a t-shirt. Take the points.
He's firmly on the hot seat, I think, now, Matt LaFleur, in my opinion. I think we've been building towards this. This was sort of this and next year are very much in our what would be expected to be a 3-year window, I would say. The next 3 years, it's got to happen. And is Matt LaFleur going to be the guy to do that and steer us there? I don't know.
I think that's tough. Before coming into here, you're 5-1-1 top of the NFC. I mean, Brandon McManus has missed a kick. The offense has stalled. I mean, I'll give Jordan Love his due. He doesn't throw many picks, but when he does, they are horrific, like last night. But fair play to the Panthers. They were poor on offense. Bryce Young throwing for 102 yards, which is crazy. 11 passes. But Rico Dowdle, again, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. And he really is putting Chuba Hubbard into an RB2 spot, which makes it very interesting for the trade deadline. But, yeah.
Why in God's name we don't put Quay Walker and Edrin Cooper, probably one of the best.
This has turned into a therapy session now.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but one of the best linebacker combinations in the league at the minute, genuinely, certainly last season. Why they don't blitz them more, I'll never know. Especially when you're playing a team like the Panthers with Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard, it's the perfect time for Jeff Hafley to show off his toys, and he didn't, unfortunately. So just a rough night for the Packers. Bears picking up a win. Thank God the Lions lost. Genuinely, thank God.
The only silver lining there, but yeah, you can't really lose if you don't show up. We just didn't show up at all. Look, let's round out the show then. Monday Night Football. The Cardinals coming off of a bye week, but remember, no James Conner, so it'll be hopefully the Bam Knight show at running back. But if that doesn't work, we've got Trey McBride here, like one of the best tight ends in the league. He picked up 2 touchdowns actually against us a couple of weeks ago. So I think they could give the Cowboys a run for the money, but you look again, you got Dak Prescott, George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb. What a wide receiver room that is. My money's on the Cowboys.
Yeah, my money's on the Cowboys as well. Bounce back week for Jake Ferguson. Bounce back week for CeeDee Lamb, although I do think Pickens is the favoured wide receiver in this one. I think Jake Ferguson will be getting a lot of the ball tonight, and Dak's going to have a good time, I think.
It's a bounce back game for Dak. He threw 2 interceptions against the Broncos and it was really poor. And do you know what? I'm always really hesitant to back a team going against someone off a bye. We see it time and time again. But I do think without James Conner, I do think the Cowboys will get there. And I think it'll be a Javonte Williams, probably 2 touchdown game again as well, I'm going to say.
What's interesting in this one for me is very, very difficult to sort of scheme up against and prepare for, on the basis that they've actually said that, Kyler Murray's not quite there yet. He is going to sit for a little bit, but he might play during the game. So that's a really interesting one. Then you're preparing for, crazy to say, but he is the backup quarterback. You're preparing for 2 quarterbacks, and completely different styles. One goes a lot more mobile, and one, has shown that he can run, but he's nowhere near the caliber of Murray on his feet. So what do you do then? Your whole defensive package changes, and Eberflus needs to be ready for that. I'm sure it will be.
Well, and don't forget, we've got Bam Knight, who is relatively unknown as well. I mean, I know
This
Oliver, you had him as a bust. So if Bam Knight goes for 150 yards, I know who we're coming to get on Thursday.
This is his breakout game.
This is it, bro. We had a few disgruntled people in our fantasy chat here. No naming any names, but he was like, Oliver, he's wrong about Brock Bowers and he's going to be wrong about Bam Knight. This is it. So yeah, if you can go 0 for 2 on Thursday's episode, I can't wait to talk about Bam and co.
Don't do me like this, Bam.
Oh, Bam, thank you, ma'am. Look, that is all we got time for on today's episode of the Early Hours podcast. The trade deadline is looming, just a mere days away until that closes, and we'll be here to break down all of the last minute trades up on Thursday's episode, so we'll see you then.